opposing the same. So in Kenya, basically we can say that in such instances, these are matters that are usually emotive. And so considering the judiciary's position from yesterday's decision, it is clear that that many Kenyans first and foremost are happy for the decision. I don't intend to take any sides though, but let's call a spade a spade. So that is the current position. The decision yesterday just quashed the cabinet, the chief administrative secretary's position, and that's it.
What are some of the next possible moves that President William Ruto is likely to take with regards to yesterday's ruling?
The current position is that the nominated chief administrative secretaries, aka the CAS, will not hold the envisioned positions until the matter is fully determined, because as we have heard from the aggrieved parties, the likes of Senator and the Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, they intend to appeal to the Court of Appeal. That is the Superior Court after the High Court.
So how possible is it likely to go?
You can't really tell the next move because we leave that to the judiciary to undertake its mandate. However, there is some issues that were raised in the petition, and some that it includes the jurisdiction of the High Court, as to whether the High Court had the jurisdiction to adjudicate on the current disputed matter. We also have the issue on public participation.
Yes.
Was the public involved actively in the recruitment and nomination of the cabinet, the 50 CASs?
Yes.
Another issue was as to whether particular sections of the legislation were constitutional, and that's why the court agreed that it had the jurisdiction to adjudicate on the current matter.
Yes, there is an issue that the court quite brought out about majority of judges disagreed that with the Employment and Labor Court. There's an issue that they raised with regards to, they found that a position of a CS is similar to that of assistant minister, which was abolished. If such was abolished years ago, what is now the process of bringing it back?
The current position is that there is no actual legislation that provides for the right procedures under which these positions can be instituted, can be created. Article 132 gives the president the discretion to create these state offices. Another, which is another matter that is before the court, as to whether these state offices are within the president's discretion to create.
So that means if the president has the powers to appoint the CS, also appoint the PS, he doesn't have the power to appoint CAS.
No, in law, actually there is a procedure that should be followed. You can recall there was a previous matter that was instituted in court by His Honorable Okia Omtata, where the first case, the actual case that was against the appointment of these chief administrative secretaries. So in that case, the court decided, the actual case is actually pending in the Court of Appeal. So there is some matters that are still pending and haven't been decided conclusively.
So they're most likely to, that is Okios Umtata's case that was first appealed.
Yeah, he was among the petitioners.
The first petitioners?
Yeah.
Who appealed the appointment?
Yeah.
Then after it was moved to the Court of Appeal?
Now, in that case is currently pending in the Court of Appeal.
So after yesterday's decision, is it likely to affect the Okiya Omtatah's first case?
Not really, because the court refrained from deciding on issues that had already been raised. In law, the court cannot decide on the subject matters that had already been brought before the court. That's why the court refrained from deciding on issues such as whether the CASS, those positions are state office positions, and whether they were rightfully created. That is an issue that is still pending in court.
Well, interesting one. And just taking a look on one issue that was raised by that is Mutai Ngunyi, who said Ruto does not care about CAS. If it can be projected right there on your screen, Ruto does not care about CAS. He can blame the judiciary for their loss. But can democracy stand in the way of the government action, the act of bringing government to life? If Ruto has never lost a battle, will this be the first battle? Quite an interesting question. The same to Daily Nation, the picture of the day asks a question. President William Ruto suffered a big blow yesterday after the High Court declared his move to appoint 50 chief administrative secretaries as unconstitutional. Will he obey the law, or like his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta just ignore it? Well, is the presidency likely to ignore the High Court's decision and continue paying these guys?
As it has been the norm in Kenya, that is not something that can shock us. The president can decide. He can decide to disobey the court orders. But again, remember we are in a democratic society, and Kenya by its promulgated 2010 constitution, it gives the judiciary its independence. The legislature is another arm of the government that is also independent, and the executive is independent. So it is only rightfully and respectfully that the president, as a member of the executive, decides to obey the court orders, of which I reasonably think that he will obey.
He will obey, most likely.
Yeah.
Because he, as a matter of fact, looking at some of the decisions that President William Ruto has been making with regards to matters that have been affecting the country, especially the formation of the bipartisan, he actually proposed it as a solution, because he is, looking at his record, he has tried to avoid the conflicts of interest. Mostly it's about, let's now try to form also the office of the position. Let's make it lawful, and let's follow the procedures just to avoid the issues to do with the back and forth of the political world. And you know, you've talked of a very interesting issue, that the move after the High Court's ruling, the move will save taxpayers 187 million in salaries over the 4 years they will have served. But then an interesting one, Chief Administrative Secretary who was appointed under the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, that is Isaac Mwaura, through Twitter he said, the whole issue of associating the CAS issue with the cost of living is a political issue. Now that there have been no CAS in office, has the cost of living gone down? CAS, Isaac Mwaura, he asks a question, an interesting one, and looking at the Standard, they have also said the move by the High Court will save Kenyans 187 million Kenya shillings in salaries that the CAS would have earned in 4 years' time. Well, Isaac Mwaura asks a question, will the move reduce the cost of living? Of course, from what many Kenyans think, it will reduce, but then the appointed one thinks it won't help reduce the cost of living, but it will help serve.
I think first and foremost, it is fundamental to note that that was one of the issues that was raised. with that one of the petitioners raised. It was an non-governmental organization that that deals with ecology and stuff. And so the court yesterday refrained from issuing a decision on that particular issue because it is not upon the jurisdiction of the court to decide on matters that are not abstract.
Yes.
Yeah, the court has to decide on concrete issues that are on interpretation of the court. Remember Article 165 of the Constitution that establishes the High Court gives it the original jurisdiction on adjudicating on civil and criminal matters that are litigated before it. Yeah.
And still, on Twitter, Samson Cherargei said, in the year, some of the merits that he feels the court did not consider, the judiciary has gone rogue by ruling the creation of CS. Let me take it back again. The judiciary has gone rogue by ruling the creation of CS positions is unconstitutional without considering merits of the case. In the year, in the financial year 2023-2024, judiciary received additionally 4 billion above their normal budget, but there is still a continuation of cases backlog, corruption and ineptitude in dispensation of justice by judiciary. We shall appeal this decision that negates public interest and principles of natural justice. A good issue is trying to raise that the judiciary did not consider the merits of the case. What do you think were some of the merits that ought to have been considered?
I think, as is always the case, the aggrieved party must always object and may always try to divert from the actual decisions that are litigated before the court. The issues that were brought by both parties and that were agreed by even the respondents were clear. It includes the creation of the cabinet secretary, the CAS positions, whether the public participation was involved, whether the matter affects the taxpayers because of the economic aspects of it. And so I don't really think there is any actual or concrete issues that may warrant the decision as to not being one of merit.
Okay. There's something that he also writes there. In the financial year 2023-2024, judiciary received additionally 4 billion above their normal budget, but there's still a continuation of case backlog, corruption, and all that. Now the question is, how does budget 4 billion affect the ruling of this case? Is he just trying to be petty or look for issues? Because he says additionally 4 billion, but there are still other cases. So the ruling, he feels like the ruling was rushed. But do you think 4 billion, how does that budget affect this specific case? It doesn't.
From the financial aspects of this whole issue, it is estimated that the chief administrative secretary would bank, I think, was it 765,000 per month, excluding the allowances. And from the current situation in Kenya, I think there are more tangible issues, more concrete issues that should be dealt with by the government, and not creation of these positions, because we have the cabinet secretaries, the 22 cabinet secretaries from the diverse dockets.
Yes.
We also have the permanent secretaries. But again, the president, in his wisdom, saw it fit to create the chief administrative secretary position. But for what gain? What are the roles? What are the roles that the said individuals should come to play that the government was and cannot actually achieve by within its currently constituted structure.
Yes. Well, quite an interesting